Beginning of December, Amnesty put out a 300-page report basically of them saying Israel is committing a genocide in Palestine, specifically in Gaza. Well, Human Rights Watch and Médecins Sans Frontières, or Doctors Without Borders, have come out and made similar statements saying it's either genocide or ethnic cleansing. So Human Rights Watch, in my opinion, came out with the more hard-hitting assessment of this. They have, in their own words, literally called it acts of genocide in Gaza. This is a 180-page report that they put out in its entirety. Here are three of the kind of points that they go over when it comes to addressing the issue and about the issue itself. Again, it's a 180-page report, so these 3 points don't necessarily encapsulate the entire report, but let's at least read these 3 points before you go off and read the entire report, which I encourage. Like, the Amnesty report was about 300 pages. It was very long. It took a long time to get through. This is about 180 pages. Israeli authorities have deliberately inflicted conditions of life calculated to bring about the destruction of part of the population of Gaza by intentionally depriving Palestinian civilians there of adequate access to water, more likely resulting in thousands of deaths. In doing so, Israeli authorities are responsible for the crime against humanity of extermination and for acts of genocide. The pattern of conduct, coupled with statements suggesting that some Israeli officials wish to destroy Palestine in Gaza, may amount to the crime of genocide. Governments and international organizations should take all measures to prevent genocide in Gaza, including discontinuing military assistance, reviewing bilateral agreements and diplomatic relations, and supporting the International Criminal Court and other accountability efforts. So the report from Human Rights Watch does definitely look more into things like access to water, access to food, but that third point here is very interesting in particular. This is because the White House has come out and said specifically they do not agree with the Human Rights Watch report. Why? In my opinion, it's this third point they hit on, the including discontinuing military assistance, reviewing bilateral agreements and diplomatic relations, and supporting the International Criminal Court. Obviously, the United States isn't a signatory to the Rome Statute. They left it right before the, Afghanistan or the Iraq invasion. I wonder why, but I think they're taking umbrage against that part in particular because the United States is the biggest lender to Israel, the biggest armor of Israel. Israel is a puppet to the United States. It is the United States operating in the Middle East, looking to enrich the United States and United States-based companies. So the White House was once again come out and said they don't believe in this, they condemn it, they think it's wrong, and this is meant to be the progressive president, the progressive party saying this, the Democrats still. I'm sure this kind of rhetoric will continue under Donald Trump and his administration, probably using even harsher words than the Democrats use. The Democrats try and dance around it, but basically say, we don't believe in genocide ever, it's not a real thing. I'm sure the Trump administration will say the exact same thing. Also, interestingly, Médecins Sans Frontières put out their own statement the same day as Human Rights Watch. So yesterday, they called it Gaza, Life in a Death Trap. I think they put out another piece as well yesterday, but this is the bigger one that came out. Doctors Without Borders statement definitely from the start goes into more about the military aggression of Israel against Palestinians and the effects of the military attacks on Palestinians. Obviously, also talking about how Israel has deliberately caused the collapse of the healthcare system in Gaza, and as well as how Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders, individuals are seeing this firsthand. Obviously, they had to put in the obligatory "Do you condemn Hamas?" statement just because they have to. But it is interesting they're starting it off with Israel's war in Gaza has so far killed more than 44,000 Palestinians, wounded more than 105,000, and displaced approximately 1.2 million people, or 90% of the population, according to the Gaza Ministry of Health. And then it goes on even more. Médecins Sans Frontières have witnessed 14 months of repeated attacks on civilians. That's important to note. The dismantling of essential civilian infrastructure, including healthcare facilities, and systematic denial of humanitarian assistance, seemingly underpinned Israel's campaign to unravel the very fabric of society in Gaza. Then it goes on to also talk about how Médecins Sans Frontières staff have been attacked by Israeli forces. Now, it's again important to know, remember this time last year, the entire world came out and said Israel would never ever hurt a hospital. Israel would never target humanitarian assistance. Israel would never dismantle of essential in civilian infrastructure, including healthcare facilities. Remember, they would say they would never do that. And then over particularly the last 12 months, Israel has continuously tried to dismantle the healthcare system in Gaza. They have particularly tried to destroy all of the hospitals to try and force the people out of Gaza. Life in a death trap is actually quite a fitting statement. Obviously, there's a lot more that Doctors Without Borders go into, Médecins Sans Frontières, and you can go read that more under this report on their website. I personally think these kind of statements are important. Obviously, the likes of Human Rights Watch have been critical of Israel in the past. Amnesty has been critical of Israel in the past. Médecins Sans Frontières has been critical of Israel in the past. However, the fact that these organizations are now starting to be able to call what Israel is doing genocide, or at least calling them acts of genocide, calling them ethnic cleansing, is a good step. Are these